Lone Star Community Radio presents the Lone Star Radio Hour. For the next hour, you will hear locally produced radio plays from different groups around Montgomery County. If you're interested in the Lone Star Radio Hour and you want us to run one of your programs that you produced, just contact us at lscrstudios at gmail.com. If you are interested in recording your own show here at the studio, you can just contact us. And we're also looking for sponsorships for this time slot. So, again, just contact us at lscrstudios at gmail.com. You can also visit the Lone Star Radio Hour online at irlonestar.com/LSRH. That's irlonestar.com/LSRH. For all the plays on on-demand format. The following radio play you're about to hear is produced by the Players Theater Company in Conroe, Texas. For more information on the Players, check them out online at www.owentheater.com/players.
Live from the Owen Theater, located in the glittering arts and entertainment district of downtown Conroe, Texas, comes the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour. This is your series host, Dennis Nelson. We're very proud to be back in the Owen Theater this evening for a chilling performance of the horror classic, Dracula. The most famous vampire of all time, of course, needs no introduction. However, the Mercury Theater on the Air might. The series sprung from the success of the Mercury Theater, which was founded in New York City in 1937 by, you guessed it, Orson Welles and John Houseman. The mission of the Mercury Theater on the Air was to adapt classic literature and, through the power of radio, bring these wondrous stories into homes across the country. The horrifying tale of Dracula served as a riveting first episode on July 11th, 1938. And it was only a few months later that the Mercury Theater sent America into a panic mode with their infamous adaptation of War of the Worlds. But enough about yesteryear. Let's introduce you to our cast.
Dennis, before you do that, I have a quick note. Lori, could you stop for a second?
My dear Octoliba old bean, this is rather unprecedented, is it not?
Well, we can't afford any witty banter tonight.
We can't what?
Oh, you'll also need to shorten the cast intros. You see, we don't have sponsors this evening.
Well, but all the businesses should contact the station to be sponsors.
Or the Owen Theater, which is exactly the right thing to do. But since we don't have anyone this time and minutes on the air are at a premium, we can't do anything to stop the show and chat out of character.
What are we doing right now?
Well, I certainly wouldn't call it witty.
Well, not other than myself, no, but my goodness. Oh, wait a minute, I figured this out. You're covering yourself. This is a cover story. You have not written the rest of my script. What is it with you? You can't meet deadlines. It's all last-to-the-minute stuff. What is with this? Go back to your spot.
Yes, sir.
Be
right
quiet.
away, sir.
Now, since we so rudely interrupted, let's get on with it here. All right. Well, Lori, if you please. Joining us for the first time on the radio hour, the fantastic Eric Watts. And riveting Monty Award winner Don Hampton. Returning to the radio hour, the formidable Adam Morrow. The radiant Sarah Price. Debonair Monty Award winner Rick Sellers. The excellent Quentin T. Bishop. Brilliant Monty Award winner Baron Dan Jackson. The fantabulous Will Radcliffe. Talented Monty Award winner, Angeli De Los Santos. And as Count Dracula, the magnificent Kelly Strang. Without any further ado, then, let's take you back to mysterious, fog-filled European nights and the terror of London gaslight as we present Dracula with no commercial interruptions. The Mercury Theater on the Air presents Bram Stoker's classic novel of darkness and evil, Dracula.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Arthur Seward. I'm here tonight to bear witness to the truth of certain events which you may find hard to believe, but I ask you to believe them. I have here certain documents, telegrams, clippings from the press of the day, memoranda and letters in various hands. All needless materials have been eliminated. Though the history almost at variance with the possibilities of contemporary belief, they stand forth as simple fact. I present you first with excerpts from the private journal of Jonathan Harker.
I, Jonathan Harker, lawyer's clerk, articles to Peter Hawkins, Esquire of Exeter, England, am writing this journal in the hope that if misfortune overtakes me, it may one day come to the eyes of those who love me. I set out from London on the last day of April to visit one of our clients in Eastern Europe. On May the 3rd, I arrived in Budapest and came after nightfall to Klausenburg, on the border of Transylvania. At Bistritz, there was a letter of welcome for me from our client informing me that his carriage would await me at the Borgo Pass. It was signed, Dracula.
Bukovina! Coach for Bukovina!
The road was rough, but still we seemed to fly over it with feverish haste. When it grew dark, there seemed to be some excitement among the passengers. They kept speaking to the driver and looking at me and urging him on with greater speed. The crazy coach rocks from its great leather springs. The mountains seemed to come nearer to us on either side. Coachman! Coachman, what is it? Where are we?
Oh, you are nearing the destination, young heir. This is the Borgo Pass.
There are black rolling clouds overhead, and in the air the heavy oppressive sense of thunder. And now we go through the pass.
The young heir is not expected after all.
You are early tonight, my friend.
A calèche with 4 horses had drawn up beside us without our noticing.
Let me help you, sir.
The coachman smiled, and the lamplight fell on a hard-looking mouth with berry red lips and sharp-looking teeth as white as ivory. We began to move. I looked back, and the coach with its load of passengers had vanished from sight. We swept into the darkness of the pass. I struck a match. It was within minutes of midnight. Then a dog began to howl somewhere far down the road. The wind was rising, moaning and whistling through the rocks, and the branches of the trees crashed together as we swept along. It grew colder and colder still, and fine powdery snow began to fall. The baying of wolves sounded nearer and nearer, as if though they were closing in around us from every side. We kept on ascending, always ascending. The howls of wolves was growing less. Presently it ceased altogether, and just then the moon broke through the black clouds, and by its light I saw around us a ring of wolves running alongside the carriage, in silence, with white teeth and lolling red tongues, with long sinewy limbs and shaggy hair.
Welcome to my house.
I must have fallen asleep. The carriage had pulled up into a courtyard of a vast ruined castle. The coachman was nowhere to be seen.
welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring.
Count Dracula?
I am Dracula.
His face was strong, very strong, aquiline. The mouth, so far as I could see it under the heavy moustache, was fixed and rather cruel looking with peculiarly sharp white teeth.
You hear them, Mr. Harker.
The wolves?
Listen to them, the children of the night. What music they make. Come now. There are many things that you must tell me tomorrow, of England and of the estate there that you have purchased for me.
Ah, yes.
The estate is called Carfax, I believe.
Yes, that is so.
But now I will detain you no longer. You will find your room in readiness, and I advise you not to leave it during the night.
This castle is on the very edge of a terrible precipice. A stone falling from a window would fall 1,000 feet without touching anything. I explored. There are doors everywhere, all of them locked. The door to the great hall, the door to the courtyard. Every door in the castle is closed, bolted against me. Castle Dracula is a prison, and I am a prisoner. The next night I could not sleep, so after a few hours I got up, and lighting my candle I placed my shaving mirror on the dressing table and was just beginning to shave.
You feel rested, Mr. Harker.
I had not seen him. Although the reflection of my glass covered the whole room behind me, I turned to the glass again. Count Dracula was close to me, and I could see him over my shoulder, but there was no reflection of him in the mirror. It was blank. I started and cut myself on the side of the throat. The blood was trickling down my neck. Ah! My mirror!
The blood! The blood. Wipe the blood from your face, Mr. Harker, and take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you think in this country.
When I awoke, I found most of my things were gone. My passport, my notes, my letter of credit. I could find no trace of them anywhere, and my door was locked from the outside. June 20th. There is some kind of work going on in the castle. Now and then I hear the faraway muffled sound of Madigan's spade, and last night the second of 3 dated letters which Dracula made me write. The second of that series which was to blot out the very trace of my existence from the earth went forth. Count Dracula.
Yes, my young friend.
Well, what of me? When am I free? When can I leave this place?
Free? Mr. Harker, you are always free. You want to leave? Would you like to leave tonight?
Yes, yes, in God's name.
My dear young friend, not an hour shall you wait in my house against your will. Come, follow me. Your door seems to be bolted. How strange, your door is locked.
In God's name, open it!
As you will, Mr. Harker. You English have a proverb which is very close to my heart. Welcome the coming, speed departing guests. Good night, Mr. Harker.
Shut the door! Shut the door! Shut it!
The door is shut, Mr. Harker. I take it you will remain.
Morning, June the 30th. These may be the last words I ever write in this diary. God preserve my sanity. I've never seen Count Dracula by day. At sunrise, at the first cockcrow he is gone. I don't understand these things. He eats no food and is mortally afraid of the crucifix. He is a man with hair on the palms of his hands, with sharp white teeth, and no blood in his face. He casts no shadow. He cannot be seen in a glass, and he moves like a bat across the sheer face of the castle walls. As I write this, I hear in the courtyard the rolling of heavy wheels and cracking of whips. And there is in the passageway below a pound of heavy boxes being set down. Boxes shaped like coffins. And I know what they hold. The boxes are filled with holy earth from the chapel beneath the castle. The last box being nailed down. And now I hear the heavy feet tramping again. The door is shut, and the chains rattle in the courtyard. Down the rocky way, the roll of heavy wheels and crack of whips. Help! Help! The wagons have gone. I'm alone in the castle. I'm alone in the castle. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Seward. Mr. Harker's journal terminates at this point. I now present into evidence a clipping dated August of that year from the Yorkshire Telegraph from my correspondence in Whitby. One of the greatest and sudden of storms on record was experienced here today. The weather has been somewhat sultry, but Saturday evening was fine. The band was playing. The piers were crowded with holiday-makers. The winds went away entirely in the evening, and there was a dead calm. There were but a few lights at sea. The only sail noticeable was a foreign schooner under full canvas that's seemingly going westward. A little after midnight came a strange sound from over the sea, and high overhead, the air began to carry a strange, faint, hollow booming. Then, without warning, the tempest broke, and there, with all sails set, was the foreign schooner rushing with terrific speed toward the shore. A searchlight was turned on her, and there, lashed to the helm, was a corpse with drooping head, which swayed horribly to and fro at each motion of the ship. A moment later, she crashed. Then, a strange thing was seen. At the very instant she touched, a huge dog sprang up on the deck from below and, running forward, jumped from the bow onto the sand and, making straight up the east cliff toward the graveyard, vanished into the night. The Coast Guard, going abroad at dawn, found the dead man fastened to a spoke of the wheel. Tightly clutched in one hand was a crucifix. The man must have been dead for quite 2 days. In the pocket of the dead man's coat was a bottle, carefully corked, containing a roll of paper. This proved to be an addendum to the ship's log. There was found on board only a small amount of cargo, and that of a most unusual nature. Apparently, the ship carried nothing but earth, common earth, packed away in wooden boxes, shaped much like coffins. Log of the Demeter, Russian flagship, Black Sea to Whitby, July 6. Finished taking in cargo, queer cargo, boxes of earth. At noon, set sail, east wind fresh. Crew, 4 hands, 2 mates, cook, and myself, captain. July 11th, into Bosporus. At dark, passed through Dardanelles. Mate reported in mornings that one of the crew, Wilton, was missing.
No, took larboard. Watch, 8 bells last night. He was relieved by Talisian, who never came to his bunk. There is something aboard this ship. No, don't laugh, Captain. In the rain, last night.
Oh?
No, a tall, thin man go up the companionway, along the deck, forward, and disappear. When I go to the bow, no one. And the hatchways all closed.
July 22nd, rough weather. Last 3 days, all hands busy with sails. No time to be frightened. Past Gibraltar and out through straits. All well. July 24th, last night, another hand was lost. Disappeared.
Like Talisian. He came off his watch at midnight, and we see him no more.
Oh, you, take your watch now.
I don't take watch alone, no more.
Nor will I.
No more. Double watch.
Double watch.
July 29th. Had single watch tonight. As crew too tired to double. The morning come.
Hey! Hey, Balaki below! Balaki! There are the guns!
Balaki, gone, like all the others.
Like all the others.
The mate and I have agreed to go armed henceforth. July 30th. Last night. We are nearing England. Weather fine. All sails set.
Captain, the men on the watch are missing. One missing.
Now, only self and mate and one hand left to work ship. August 3rd. 2 days of fog and not a sail sighted. At midnight I went to relieve the man at wheel, and when I got to it I found no one there.
It's here. I know it now. I saw it. It's like a man, taller and thin, ghostly pale. It was in the bows and looking out. Oh, I gave it my knife, but the knife went right through it, empty as the air.
What are you talking about?
Oh, it's here, and I'll find it. It's in the hold, in one of those boxes of earth. I'll unscrew them one by one, and you'll see. You'll see.
He is mad. Stark-raving mad. It's no use my trying to stop him. He can't hurt those big boxes. They are invoiced as common earth.
Mm-hmm. He's there. Down in the hole. No, I know the secret now. The sea will save me from him. It's all that's left. It's all that's left. No!
August 4th. I am all alone on my ship, and still the fog. I dare not go below. I dare not leave the helm. So here, all night I stayed. And in the dimness of the night, I saw it. I saw him. God forgive me, but the mate was right to jump overboard. It was better to die like a sailor in the blue water. But I am captain, and I must not leave my ship. I have tied my hands to the wheel. When my strength begins to fail, and along with them, I shall tie that which it dare not touch, my crucifix. I am growing weaker, and the night is coming on. God and the Blessed Virgin help a poor, ignorant soul trying to do his duty. Telegram, Seward. Perfleet to Van Helsing, Amsterdam. Lucy West Tinra is in alarming condition. Cannot diagnose. Come at once. Seward.
Telegram, Van Helsing, Amsterdam, to Sword, Perfleet. I am on my way to you. Please arrange for me to examine your patient immediately upon my arrival. Van Helsing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now explain that 6 months before the events recorded here, I had become engaged to a young lady, Lucy West Tinra. We were to be married in the spring. My old teacher, Professor von Helsing, arrived at 4 the next afternoon. I took him at once to Lucy's house. She lay in her bed asleep. She was ghastly, chalkily pale. The red had seemed to have gone even from her lips and gums, and the bones on her face stood out.
Young Miss is bad, very bad. She must have blood or she will die. She is not anemic. The qualitative analysis of her blood is quite normal condition. It is strange. I do not like to think how strange. Look, mein Gott, her throat. Look!
The black velvet band that she had always wore dragged up a little and showed a red mark on her throat. Just over the external jugular vein were 2 punctures, not large, but not wholesome looking. The edges were white and worn looking. Well, what is it, Professor? What's wrong with her? Speak frankly. You can tell me the worst.
I wish I could, Sword. I wish I could. But I do not dare.
But won't you tell me anything?
I will tell you this. Your young lady is in a danger greater than death. You must believe me. If you leave her for one moment and harm befalls, you will not sleep easy thereafter.
September 8th. I sat up all night with Lucy.
Arthur, I'm afraid.
Oh, my dear, you can sleep tonight. I'm here watching you. Nothing can happen. And I promise, at any sign of bad dreams, if I see anything, I'll wake you at once.
Will you? Will you really? Then I will sleep.
I sat all night by her bedside. She did not wake once during the night, although the boughs or a bat or something slapped almost angrily against the window pane. September 11th, still quoting from my private journals. This time I received a message from Purfleet. It read, 10:20 p.m., St. John's Hospital. Serious complications, case 891. Your immediate presence in London imperative. I had no choice. Some time later, a paper was found among Lucy Westinner's belongings.
I write this and leave it to be seen so that no one may get into trouble from me. I went to bed as usual, taking care that the window was closed as Dr. Van Helsing had directed. About 2 a.m, I awakened. I went to the door and called out to Arthur, but there was no one answer. Something broke the window. I am in the room alone. I dare not go out. The house seems to be empty. The air full of specks floating, circling in the draught from the window. The light burns blue, dim. What am I to do? Something very sweet and very bitter all around me, like I'm sinking into deep water. They're singing in my ears.
You shall be flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood.
September 12th, late. Only resolution and habit can let me make an entry tonight. We found her sprawled on the floor, and there was a draught in the room from the broken window. The throat was bare, showing the 2 wounds, looking horribly white and mangled.
We are too late, my friend. We have failed. God's will be done.
She is dying?
Yes, she is dying. Stay beside her. It will make much difference, mark me, whether she dies conscious or in her sleep.
It was late in the afternoon before she opened her eyes.
Arthur? Oh, my love. I'm so glad you've come.
I took her hand and knelt beside her. Her breath came and went like a tired, peaceful child. And then the light from the setting sun fell on her face, and then insensibly a strange change came over her. Her eyes grew suddenly dull and hard. Her breathing was heavy. Her mouth open, and the pale gums drawn back made the teeth look large and sharp.
Arthur, oh, my love, I'm so glad you've come. Kiss me. Bend down and kiss me.
Run for your life! Run for your very soul and hers! She's dead.
Poor girl. Lie in peace at last. The end.
Not so. It is only the beginning. Wait and see.
Extra special, Kensington Horror. Westminster Gazette, September 25th, a Hampstead mystery. The Kensington Horror and the Woman in Black are vividly recalled to mind by a series of events that have taken place recently in the neighborhood of Hampstead. Several cases have occurred of young children straying from home or failing to return from playing on the heath. In all these cases, the children have given as their excuse that they have been with a beautiful lady who offered them chocolates. In each case, the child was found to be slightly torn or wounded in the throat.
Extra special!
The wound seemed as such as might be made by a rat or a small dog.
Extra special! Extra special! Hampstead Horror! Read about the beautiful lady! Read about the beautiful lady! Extra special!
The Hampstead Horror. Another child injured by the beautiful lady. We have just received intelligence that another child missed last night was only discovered late in the morning. It is the same tiny wound in the throat. Well, Sword, what do you think of that? Do you mean to tell me, my friends, that you still have no suspicions as what poor Lucy died of?
Nervous prostration following on great loss or waste of blood.
And how was the blood lost or wasted? You are a clever man, my friend, and a good doctor, but you do not believe that there are things that you cannot understand. You are wrong, Sword. Are you aware of all the mysteries of life and death? Can you tell me why in the pampas there are bats that come down at night and open the veins of cattle and horses and suck dry those veins? How some islands in the West Seas there are bats which hang in the trees all day, and then when the sailors sleep on the deck because it is hot, they sweep down on them, and then in the morning are found dead men, white as Miss Lucy was?
I understand none of these things.
After tonight's Sword, if you dare come with me, perhaps you will understand.
September 29th, before dawn. Now it is done. And I would sooner die 1,000 deaths than to live again what I did this night.
We will spend the night, you and I, here in this churchyard where Miss Lucy is buried. We enter the tomb.
And then?
We open the coffin. You shall yet be
Take care, Von Helsing.
Miss Lucy is dead, is it not so? Since there can be no wrong to her. But if she is not dead...
With some difficulty, we found the West Tynre tomb. I took up my place behind a yew tree on one side of the tomb, Von Helsing on the other. I was chilled and frightened. Suddenly I saw something moving between the two yew trees, a dim, white figure which held something at its breast. The figure stopped. I could not see the face, for it was bent down over what I saw to be a fair-haired child. There was a sharp little cry, such as a child gives in sleep, or a dog as it lies before the fire and dreams. Then the thing saw us. She drew back with an angry snarl. Her lovely blood-stained mouth grew to an open square. If ever a face meant death, I saw it at that moment. Then suddenly she turned and vanished in the direction of the tomb.
The child is unharmed. We will leave him in a safe place where the police can find him. There's more to do. Come!
Now we are in the tomb. There, in the coffin, the thing lay like a nightmare of Lucy. The pointed teeth, the blood-stained mouth. Von Helsing never looked up. From his bag he took out a book, his operating knife, a heavy hammer, and a round wooden stake 2 or 3 inches thick, sharpened to a fine point and hardened over a fire.
Sword, the life of this unhappy woman has just begun. Then she becomes what you call undead. There comes with the change the curse of immortality. She cannot die, but must go on age after age, adding new victims, because all that die from the preying of this undead becomes themselves undead and prey on others. So the circle goes on and on, ever widening, as of the ripples of a stone thrown into the water. But if this lady, this undead, be made to rest as true dead, then the soul of the poor lady whom we love should again be free.
Tell me, what am I to do?
Take this stake in your left hand and the hammer in your right.
Yes?
Place the point over the heart.
Here.
Then, I begin the prayer for the dead. In God's name, strike. Are you ready? Now, Deus in nomine tuo salvum.
On the morning of July 11th, a man was found on the border of Transylvania. He talked wildly of wolves and boxes of earth and blood. He gave his name as Jonathan Harker. In a hospital at Klausenberg, he improved sufficiently to make possible his removal to England. But then his condition became so serious that he was committed for observation to a private ward in my hospital at Purfleet. Here, he did so well that in 3 weeks he was completely recovered. It was during this time that his wife, Mina Harker, brought to the attention of Dr. von Helsing and myself the journal that her husband had kept while prisoner in the castle of a certain Count Dracula in Transylvania. I had before me the record of a meeting that took place in my study in Purfleet, transcribed by Mina Harker.
October 1st. Meeting again. 10 after 8. Jonathan next to me, Dr. Seward afterwards, and Dr. Van Helsing at the head of the table.
My friends, there are such things as vampires. Had I known at first what I now know, one so precious a life would have been spared for the many of us who love her. The vampire which is among us is himself so strong that he can direct all the elements, the storm, the fog, the thunder. He can command all the meaner things, the moth and bat, the owl, the fox and the wolf. How then are we to begin our stride to destroy him? How shall we find his place, and having found it, how can we destroy? My friends, it is a terrible task that we undertake. To fail here is not mere life or death. If we fail, we become as him. Foul things of the night, as him. What do you say?
I answer for myself.
Come near.
I'm with you.
The professor laid a small golden crucifix on the table. We took hands, and our solemn pact was made.
My friends, we too are not without strength. The vampire flourishes on the blood of the living. Without this he cannot live. He throws no shadow, he makes no reflection in a mirror, he can transform himself into a wolf, to a bat, he can come on the moonlight rays as elemental dust, he can see in the dark. He can do all these things, yet he is not free. His power ceases at the coming of the day. Then, until night, he must remain in the shape in which he finds himself, and, except in his coffin home, in those boxes of earth, he cannot rest. When we can confine him to this coffin, then, my friends, if we obey what we know, we will destroy him.
At that moment, something slapped wildly against the window. Then...
Did you hit it?
I don't know.
We looked out of the window. Against the black sky, you could see nothing.
Data are now positioned. From Count's Castle in Transylvania to Whitby came 50 boxes of earth. All of these, to our certain knowledge, were delivered at Carfax. Recently, 12 of these boxes have been removed. First step, ascertain whether all the rest remain in the deserted house next door, or whether any more have been removed. We must break each of those boxes and sterilize the earth with holy water so he can no longer see safety in it. And we must hurry.
The events of the next few days are described in Jonathan Harker's journal.
October 2nd, 5 a.m. Just returned from the empty house. Left Mina here at home. Well, we've done our work at Carfax. The place was filthy, the air stagnant and foul, and alive with rats. We counted the boxes, only 38 of them, and over each one the professor went through his same mysterious work. It was dawn when we got back. I found Mina asleep. She looks paler than usual.
October 2nd. Soon after they left, I fell asleep. I remember hearing the sudden barking of the dogs. Then it was all silent. I got up and looked out of the window. There was a thin streak of white mist moving across the grass along the wall of the house. It dawned on me that the air in the room was heavy, dank, and cold. The gaslight came only as a tiny red spark in the fog. I could see through my eyelids. The mist grew thicker and thicker. Then, as I looked, the spark divided and seemed to shine on me through the fog like two red eyes.
Shall blood of my blood, blood of my blood.
October 2nd, 8 p.m. We are on the track. 12 boxes were delivered to an empty house at 337 Piccadilly.
My dear friends, until the sun sets tonight, Dracula must remain whatever form he now has. We have this day to hunt out all his lawyers and sterilize them. Then he will have no place he can move and hide, but we only have until sunset.
The house in Piccadilly was empty. Like the one at Purfleet, the same sickening smell is in the air. On the table, we found a clothes brush, a brush and a comb, and a basin, the latter containing dirty water, which was reddened as if with blood.
The boxes are back here. 8, 9, 10, 11.
Only 11?
There's a 12th box somewhere.
Gentlemen, it is after 6. The sun is setting. We have no time to lose. He will return at any moment. Open the boxes.
Quiet!
Listen. It is he!
You waste your bullets, gentlemen. You think you baffle me. You with your pale faces all in a row like sheep in the butcher's. You think you have left me without a place to rest, but I have more. And time is on my side. The one you love is mine already. I have known her. Already my mark is on her throat. Flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. She is with me always over land or sea.
October 4th, morning. Another meeting in the study at Purfleet.
We must find that last remaining box, gentlemen. We must find it. As long as that earth exists and pure, as long as there remains one place of refuge for Dracula, there is no safety and no peace for any soul in England.
And for the undead, never peace so long as he lives. Blood of my blood.
Mina?
Blood
How do you know that?
of my
Quiet,
blood.
quiet.
With me always, over land and sea.
Mina, darling, how do you know that Dracula said those?
I don't know. The words just came. Strange. There are times when somehow I feel that I'm with him.
At sunset?
Yes, just as sun sets, and again at sunrise. Dr. Van Helsing, if at those times you...
Have you the courage?
The courage for what? What do you mean?
Dr. Van Helsing here will question me.
I will question her, yes, in a state of hypnosis. The one you love is already mine, he said. She is with me always over land or sea. Ah, Count Dracula, perhaps she will betray you if she is really with you, this one we love. Who knows if she is really with you over land or sea?
Blood of my blood.
Mina?
Yes,
Answer me, Mina. Are you with him?
yes, I am with him.
Where are you?
I do not know. It is all dark.
What do you hear?
The lapping of water. I can hear it on the outside.
Then you are on a ship?
Yes.
What else do you hear?
There's the creaking of an anchor chain. Still. Oh, so still. It is like death. It is like death.
Here is a report from Matson Peabody, shipbrokers, dated October 5th. According to Lloyd's, lists the only sailing ship that left for the Black Sea yesterday with the Tsarina Katrina bound for Varna. Somehow, before she sailed, a man came alongside, all in black, driving a cart with a great box in it. This he lifted down single-handed and carried below. No one remembers having seen him after that. A heavy mist came up over Doolittle Dock until sailing time. The rest of London Harbour remained completely clear.
Our plans are made. The average sailing time from London to the Black Sea is 3 weeks. We can travel overland to the same place in 3 days. We shall be there waiting for him when he arrives.
October 15th. Arrived at Varna about 5 o'clock. Mina feels stronger. Every morning before sunrise and just before sunset, she speaks to Von Helsing in a trance.
Are you with him, Mina? Tell me, are you with him?
I am with him.
What can you see?
Nothing. All is dark.
What can you hear?
I can hear the waves lapping against the ship and the water rushing by. The wind is high.
So, the Tsarina Katrina is still at sea, hastily to Varna. The Count cannot cross running water, so he cannot leave the ship without being observed.
What do you hear, Mina?
Lapping waves and rushing water. Darkness. Darkness.
Dated telegram from Lloyd.
Not yet reported.
Not yet reported.
Not yet reported.
Rushing
Not yet
water.
reported.
October
Rushing
24th.
water.
Telegram.
Creeping
Lloyd.
mist.
London
Darkness.
to Seward. Tsarina Katrina reported this morning from Dardanelles.
London's to Harker, October 28th. Tsarina Katrina in heavy fog. Reported entering Galatz Harbor at 1 o'clock today.
Galatz? Galatz is 38 hours from here, and the first train for Galatz leaves at 6:30 tomorrow morning. My friends, we have lost.
I am with you. I can see nothing. Nothing. I can hear men's voices calling in the roar and the prick of the wind. I can feel the air blowing.
October 29th, evening. We are due between 2 and 3 in the morning, but already at Bucharest we are 3 hours late.
What's going on? I feel something pass me like a cold wind. I can hear far off, confused sounds, as of men talking in strange tongues. Fierce, falling water, and the howling of wolves. There is another sound. How queer a sound. Like
Like what? Speak, Mina, speak. I command you. I command you to speak.
Arrived in Galatz. Saw the captain of the Tsarina Katrina.
Welcome aboard. We are over an hour before sunup. We received a box for a party by the name of Dracula. Had his papers all right. Emanuel Heidelsheim was his name.
Mr. Heidelsheim?
Yes?
You unloaded a box yesterday.
I got from Kyolov by order. Kyolov.
Mr. Kealov?
Oh, no. This morning, they find him dead inside the churchyard of St. Peter. They find him dead with his throat torn open.
October 30th, evening.
There are two ways in which Dracula can get back to his own place, by land or by water.
We've examined the map and found the most likely river is in Sereth.
You and I, Seward, will charter a steam launch and follow him up the river. Then Helsing and Mina will take the train to Veresti, and from there...
From there, we shall go on the track where Harker went to Berestritza, over to Borgo. If you have not caught him before, we shall be meeting Dracula there.
October 31st. We arrived at Veresti at noon. Van Helsing and I brought the carriage here. We start in an hour. Our enemy is still on the river.
October 31st. We can earn good speed up the river at night. There's plenty of water, and the banks are wide apart.
November 1st, evening. No news all day. We hear that a big boat went up the river before us, going at more than usual speed.
November 4th. All day driving. The country gets wilder as we go. By morning, we should reach the Borgo Pass.
November the 4th, evening. We have left the launch. We have horses and we follow up the track along the river. We are armed.
Look, quick, there they are now, heading west.
Through the dawn, we could see the Slovaks some miles before us, dashing along the river with their wagon. On it is a great box.
Late in the afternoon, we leave the Borgo Pass.
Van Helsing, look, look!
We could see a long way all around. Far off, beyond the white waves of snow, like a black ribbon curling between us and the river, not far off, came a group of men-mounted Slovaks riding along. In the midst of them was a wagon that swept from side to side. On the wagon was a great box.
Look!
We see two horses following fast, coming up from the south. Seward and Harker. The Slovaks, with the heavy wagons, are losing their ground. Now they must not be more than a mile behind. Now the wagon is quite closer. We can see the great box lying gravely. Now they are almost upon us. Now has happened a strange thing. The wagon is smashed into a great rock buried in the snow. Lost its front wheel and turned over on its side, jammed against the stone. The horses tore loose from their traces and bolted, and the Slovaks scattered and vanished after them. Then silence. Silence like come after ringing a bell.
Look, his face.
It is Dracula, sprawled out and stiff, twisted in the smear of his own holy earth. The box, in falling, has emptied the dirt onto the snow. His face is odd-looking, the skin like paper. Dr. Seward, there is no time. Look at the sun.
Sunset.
In 1 minute it is sunset and he is forever lost to us. Have you the stake of wood and the hammer?
Yes.
Now, Seward, pray for us. Kneel down and pray.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Harker, the stake of wood over his heart. Be not afraid, Harker. Do not look into his eyes. The hammer. Now, Harker, strike! Strike!
Flesh. Flesh of my flesh. Guilt of my guilt. Death of my death. Speak and be manifest in the instant of your master's peril. Elements of darkness, rain, evil wind, mist, and mold, and tempests.
Strike!
The others couldn't, but somehow I can hear him speaking behind his eyes.
Claw, wing, tooth, scale, tissue of flesh, death of my death, dead and undead. The hand of the living is over your master. Console me, my children. This instant is no longer than the space between two heartbeats, but the night is not here, and I am lonely. Come to your master, my children. Beguile him now in the instant of his peril. Beguile him with the sound of your names. Claw, wing, tooth, scale, tissue of flesh. Claw, wing, tooth, scale, tissue of flesh.
Strike, Harker, strike!
There is one very dear to me who has not answered. My love, Mina. There is less than a minute between me and the night. You must speak for me. You must speak with my heart.
Give them to me. Jonathan, give them to me. Give me the stick of wood and the hammer.
Harker!
I shall never forget that moment. The look on poor Mina's face as she stood there, the angry scar standing out on her throat, her eyes like living coals in the last red of sunset. She had torn the stake and hammer from my hands with the strength of an animal.
Mina, do you know what you have done, woman? Do you know what you have done to us? You have released him. The evil is free.
Look, the sun!
As we looked at Dracula, his eyes saw the sinking sun, and the hate in them turned to triumph.
Flesh of my flesh, come to me, my love. Come into the night and the darkness. You have served me well, my love, my bride, my...
Ladies and gentlemen, all the evidence is now before you. I've added nothing, and to the best of my knowledge, I have omitted nothing that might help throw light upon the extraordinary events of the year 1891, which culminated on that terrible evening in the Borgo Pass. There remains only this one last report.
When Mina Harker seized the stake and hammer from her husband, I believe she was under some form of hypnosis. She herself remembers nothing, but whatever influence was at work on her, she must have at the last moment rejected it. For at the exact instant the sun disappeared, it was Mina Harker who drove the stake through the heart of the thing that called itself Dracula. At that same instant, even as we looked, the wound on the side of her throat was no more. As for Dracula, before the screams of the creature had died from our ears, the whole body had crumbled into dust and passed from our sight. In the final moment of the solution, there was in the face a look of peace such that I could never have imagined might have rested there.
And now, here is the director of this Mercury Theater production, Mr. Orson Welles.
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case Count Dracula has left you a little apprehensive, one word of comfort. When you go to bed tonight, don't worry. Put out the lights and go to sleep, because it's all right. You can rest peacefully. That's just a sound effect. There. Over there in the shadows, see? Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. I think it's nothing, but always remember.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are wolves. There are vampires.
Such things do exist.
Thank you so very much for joining us during this terrifying episode of the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour, right here in the Owen Theater. Special thanks go to director Joe Visor and the cast and crew of Crimes of the Heart for their gracious permission to share their set for tonight's performance. The Pulitzer Prize-winning Crimes of the Heart is now playing at the Owen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through November 2nd. More details on tickets and our Players Theater Company season can be found at owentheater.com. Tonight's technical credits go to Dick Schisler as sound engineer, who also acted as producer for Lone Star Internet Radio. Our sound effects were performed live and from scratch without the use of recordings by Rick Sellers, Baron Dan Jackson, Quentin T. Bishop, Will Radcliffe, and Eric Watts, under the leadership of Foley Captain Sherry Sellers. Live music was performed tonight by Laurie Shones. Tonight's cast included Don Hapman as Dr. Seward and Demeter Captain, Adam Morrow as Dr. Van Helsing, Sarah Price as Mina Harker, Eric Watts as Jonathan Harker, Rick Sellers as First Mate and as the driver, Quint Bishop as Deckhand and Hilsheim, Baron Dan Jackson as the other deckhand and as Czarina Katrina Captain, Will Radcliffe as the news vendor and the old man, with Kelly Strang as Count Dracula and Angeli De Los Santos as Lucy Weston. Tonight's episode was directed by Timothy Eggert, who also served as producer on behalf of the Players Theater Company. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour was created by Craig Campobella and Dick Schisler exclusively for the Players Theater Company. This episode of the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour was performed live in the Owen Theater in cooperation with Lone Star Internet Radio in Conroe, Texas on October 28, 2014, and was recorded for encore broadcasts. Visit irlonestar.com every month for freshly archived programs like Sherlock Holmes, which is now available on demand for your listening pleasure. If you are an actor in the Conroe or Greater Houston area, you are invited to audition for our next episode. The auditions will be held at the Owen Theater on Monday, November 10th. Check theplayerstc.com for more information. Speaking of our live radio production in the Owen Theater, please join us for a double feature of Our Miss Brooks on Sunday, November 23rd at 7 p.m. And be sure to listen in every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on Lone Star Internet Radio. Again, our thanks for you joining us for this thrilling presentation. From the glittering arts district of downtown Conroe, Texas, this is your series host, Dennis Nelson, wishing you a pleasant evening and hoping that Halloween brings you something you can really get your teeth into. Good night.
Thanks for listening to Lone Star Radio Hour here on Lone Star Community Radio. Don't forget, the Lone Star Radio Hour airs every Sunday at 7 p.m. on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you want to join and be part of the Lone Star Radio Hour with your own radio play, contact us today at lscrstudios at gmail.com. We are also looking for support for this time slot, so if you're interested in sponsoring this time slot, contact us again at lscrstudios at gmail.com. And don't forget, this radio play was brought to you by the Players Theater Company in Conroe, Texas. For more information about the Players, please check them out online at owentheater.com/players.